Welcome back to Caring Beyond the Pew. I am your host, Sonia Koenig. And today we were going to have an interview, but I wanted to take this time to share some things with you. I guess what my pastor would call a little family time. So, just this past week, I've had two people that I know that have passed away. One was in her 80s, her late 80s, and the other was in her middle 30s. And they were some important people in my life. And I learned some things from their passing that I want to share with you that I really feel is so important for families to understand. You know, my biggest desire is to be able to share with people and help people understand the importance of getting their end of life affairs in order. Well, neither one of these individuals got their end of life affairs in order. And one of them, the one in her late 80s, it was constantly said to her to do this, but she never would get it done. So on her passing, basically no one knew that she had passed away until a couple of days later. And it was not expected. Friends went to go visit her the day she passed away that morning, and she seemed to be fine. And she did not appear or see there were no showings that she was going to die. Well, she died that evening, and it was on the late of the week. But her church family and her friends did not know until that Saturday, because they went to go visit her, and when they went to the facility, they said, hey, she had passed away. But no one was able to get any real information. One, because she didn't have any family here. She only had her church family. And she failed to put her church family's name on her documents. So when she passed, they weren't notified, and they did not receive the body. That is why I am a firm believer, and I push to get your end of life affairs in order. The other young person died unexpectedly, was not sick. There was nothing wrong with her, but she died in her sleep. And now her family is trying to take care of getting her arrangements done because it wasn't done ahead of time. Pastors, please, when you talk with your congregation, please help them understand the importance of getting your end of life affairs in order when you're well. Because when you don't talk to them and don't encourage them to do that, then it falls on the church when the family doesn't have any means, or the individual may not have any family, it falls on their church family to try to figure things out. And so, please, if there's nothing else that you have heard in any of the podcasts and anything I've done, if there's nothing else that have grabbed your attention, please let this grab your attention to encourage your congregation, encourage those in your community to get their end of life affairs in order. Sit down with them and help them to see what are some things that need to be taken care of. We've shared a lot of information in our podcast on things that pastors, some suggestion and things that pastors and church leaders can do. We're going to be hearing from more pastors and church leaders and lay leaders on if the churches have an end of life care initiative, if the church doesn't, if they do, what it is that they do, and if they don't have one, what would they like to see? So this is a really short podcast this week, but I just wanted to take some time to really have a family time and really help you understand and help you see, give you some examples of why we need to get our end of life affairs in order. whether you are healthy or not. The best time really to do it is when you are healthy, because when you are healthy, your mind is thinking straight. You're able to get some things together, sit down with your loved ones and talk to them. But when you're not healthy, you're trying to scrounge and get this. But if we work on it when everything is fine, when the time does come, when we need to have our families help because we are dying, we have everything in order so they don't have to deal with that. So they don't have to stress over that. So that they can be able to mourn or take care of you, and they don't have to worry about, okay, I need to get this, I need to get that. They can focus on caring for you. So if you take the initiative to get your end of life affairs in order, and pastors, if you take the initiative to teach your church, and if you don't know how, or you don't know what to do, or you don't have any resources, call us. Call us at End of Life Care Institute at 210-400-0540. We will be so glad to come out to help you, to sit down with you, pastor and church leaders, and figure out what you can do in your congregation to help your people. We have different courses, we have different programs that would benefit a church in helping them to get their congregation, to get those in their congregations, get their end of life affairs in order. And then when you have people from your community come and talk to you, because if you are doing what God has called you to do, and you are reaching out to your community, you are going to have people come to your church or call your church that are not members of your church, but they need the pastor's help or a church leader's help. They need someone to help them process the news that they've just received. Because a lot of people, when they have received news of terminal illness, one of the places they look to is their faith, or their lack of faith, or spiritual guidance. And they may call your church and ask you for help. They may call your church because they're going through some things and they really need someone to help them process. And so at End of Life Care Institute, we help pastors and church leaders and lay leaders and chaplains in helping individuals with a holistic approach and teaching them what it is they need to do to get their end of life affairs in order. I don't want you to have to, pastors and church leaders, lay leaders, chaplains, I don't want you to have to be scrounging when someone passes away and trying to figure out what to do. Or you get someone in your congregation that's going through the dying process and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to help them. You don't know how to give them their support. We're here to help you on that journey. Please talk to your congregation. Talk to your community. Have resources available so that you can help people to get their end of life affairs in order. You don't have to just come in after someone has died. This is something you can do so that when that individual has passed away, you know how to help that family help that family process things, because that individual has gotten their end of life affairs in order before they passed away, and you can help them process things. So I employ you, or however the term goes, you know what I'm trying to say. I encourage you to help your individuals in your congregation get their end of life affairs in order. To teach them that dying is not something they have to be afraid of. To help the families when their loved one has passed away, help them to be able to process the end of life of what needs to take place for that individual, like getting their affairs in order, planning the funeral. Because if you planned your own funeral and written your own obituary, that's less work your family has to do. If you pastor and church leader, lay leader, and chaplain can help those in your congregation prepare when the time comes, That's less work that's involved. That's less stress the family has to go through. So thank you for listening to me today on my rant, my family time, because this is something really important to me. And I feel, and I really believe and feel that God has called me to reach out to pastors and church leaders and lay leaders and chaplains and encouraging them to help individuals get their end of life affairs in order. If you need, like I said before, if you need help in this area, call us at 210-400-0540, or you can email us at carebeyond, CAREBEYOND, at Texas Doula Movement, TXDOULAMVMNT.com. Thank you and have a blessed and wonderful day.